We've been talking all about testosterone in the past few days here. It's a topic a lot of people want to know, how can I boost testosterone? And we talked about lifestyle, and we talked about supplements yesterday, and today we're going to talk about what foods exactly will help to raise my testosterone, maintain adequate levels of testosterone. And then we're going to recap everything so you guys have a nice summary of how to boost testosterone in your life right now. Getting going if you want to. It's important for men and women alike. When it comes to food, there are some vitamin and mineral deficiencies we want to address. But before getting into those, we want high amounts of protein. We want high amounts of protein because low amounts of protein are associated with the activation of and increased levels of hormones that deactivate testosterone, right? And that would be something like cortisol, aka our stress hormone. And so maintaining high levels of protein is really important. What are the best sources of protein that exist in nature? Well, they're animal sources, so animal meat and fish, because eggs are great too, right? And so first we're thinking meat, fish, eggs. Meat, fish, eggs. That's what we're thinking first here with testosterone. Now, meat has complete protein, right? Animal sources of protein and fish, which have all the essential amino acids, which our body needs. Essential means we have to get them from the diet. Our body does not produce them. And so they are the building blocks for proteins. And so we'd like all the essential amino acids we can get, not having to supplement with them as we would if we were, say, primarily vegan or vegetarian, where those sources of protein are incomplete, typically with a few exceptions like quinoa or seitan, which is pure gluten. Nobody's going to have that. It's pro-inflammatory, no bueno anyway, right? So you might as well go for the meat. It's full of other vitamins and minerals and great stuff as well, as are plants. But when it comes to protein, definitely animal sources are superior. So lean meat is what we're going to go for, nothing processed, right? So you want as much of that processed, pepperoni and salami and bacon and stuff like that. You want lean turkey breast, chicken breast, lean pork chops would be good. Grass-fed beef would be good, so grass-fed steak in general, ground beef, all that kind of stuff would be fantastic. And fish is nearly top of the table, and why is that? It's not just the protein that we find in fish, but it's also the healthy fats. We want a lot of healthy fats when we're looking to boost testosterone, and omega-3s in fish, a lot of healthy fats, nuts and seeds, healthy fats as well, but we get a lot of protein with those healthy fats when it comes to fish. Not mention, we get a lot of something else, and that's vitamin D. Vitamin D, baby. We can talk about vitamin D for 800 million years. Most heralded for bone health and immunity, as we always say, but it's involved in skin health and hair health and mood and hair, all sorts of stuff, right? And so, your teeth. And so, higher levels of vitamin D are generally something that bode well for boosting testosterone, maintaining adequate levels of testosterone, because vitamin D decreases levels of what's called sex hormone binding globulin. We were talking about sex hormone binding globulin a few days ago, and we described the different types of testosterone in the body, and bound testosterone is bound to SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, and so the body can't readily absorb it. It's not free, it's not bioavailable, right? And so we want our testosterone freed up. We want it either totally free, which is a small percentage of testosterone, or in the form of loosely bound testosterone to albumin, which our body can at least use with some effort, right? But free testosterone is king, and freeing it up from SHBG is a good thing that vitamin D can do. Now, where is the best source of vitamin D in the world, in nature? Well, it's of course sunlight, right? There's not that much vitamin D in foods, albeit salmon is the highest source. Eggs are relatively high. You can get some in dairy, and you can get some in fortified mushrooms. It's only if they were grown in the sunlight, though. Otherwise, mushrooms really don't have much. It is relatively tough to find, so either take a supplement containing vitamin D, since we all sit inside all day and work at cubicles and shit like that. It's not conducive. Our society is not conducive to what we've been doing evolutionarily and been exposed to in terms of fresh air and sunlight and natural ingredients and just a natural way of life. And vitamin D is a fantastic example of that, right? So, we're either going to supplement with it or have some of those foods get some sunlight, vitamin D. So we said meat, fish, eggs. Eggs contain some vitamin D in the yolk as well. Also tons of other vitamins, and something called choline, interestingly, which is a precursor to acetylcholine, facilitates learning and memory and muscle contraction and a bunch of other stuff. But the yolk also contains good cholesterol. This cholesterol is involved in testosterone formation, serving as a precursor to testosterone. So it's important to have this healthy cholesterol. Don't skip the yolk. When it comes to the eggs, get pasture-raised eggs. They are absolutely much better for you. They have more vitamin D in them. They have about, I think it was 3 times the amount of vitamin D, 2 times the amount of omega-3s, about 4 times the amount of vitamin E, 7 times the amount of beta-carotene as traditional grain-fed eggs, right? You know, where they cage them up, and you know, pasture-raised is definitely the way to go. They have a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, whereas the cheap eggs are like 19-to-1 also. So you definitely want to go for pasture-raised. It's worth a little bit extra money. Aldi has them for an affordable price. It's like $4 and change, right? So we got meat, we got fish. Get a workout talking about this. We have eggs, and I love it so much. I'm so passionate about it. It's just awesome. You know, you can change your life with nutrition, you guys. And man, you know, I live it, and we're going to prove it. I want you to live it, you know, for yourself. So we said those 3. So what else do we got? Well, spinach helps to increase levels of free testosterone. So don't forget about your leafy greens, your kale, spinach, Swiss chard, arugula. That stuff's great, and namely spinach, again, as it increases levels of unbound free testosterone in the body. Not to mention it has nitrates that are converted to nitrites that increase nitric oxide and blood flow, and that's good for this. If you're a libido type thing, you're looking for that, right, as well. And it's good for cognitive function, just blood flow and exercise performance and many things, right? But it's interesting how the two go hand in hand. It increases free unbound testosterone and improves blood flow like that. There is some correlation between foods that seem to boost nitric oxide and increase testosterone, interestingly. Leafy greens are a good example of that. Ginger increases testosterone in many different ways that, you know, it's not even worth getting into. But what's interesting about ginger is anything in the ginger family typically is good in terms of having medicinal benefit and powerful physiological altering properties. Right, and you look at something like Alpinia galangal root, and that'll improve blood flow, and that'll improve libido, and improve focus and attention. And you look at something like Penex ginseng, Noto ginseng, and they use that for exercise and reducing inflammation and vigor, and you know, it's just great stuff. Another example would be turmeric. You know, curcumin, which you find in turmeric. They use that for improving joint health, improving joint mobility, reducing joint pain. Make sure your curcumin is standardized to 95% curcuminoids. You want 500 milligrams 3 times a day if that's what the goal is. It's for joint health, combined with piperine, right, at 20 milligrams 3 times a day, right? So a total of 1,560 milligrams of curcumin and piperine respectively, if that's what you're looking for. But not to get too off topic, ginger is another good thing that can help to raise testosterone levels naturally. Honey contains boron, and low levels of boron have been associated with some deficits in testosterone. It has been shown that people who have their boron levels replenished it naturally or through supplementation at a minimum of 6 milligrams per day have had relatively significant increases in testosterone sometimes. So why do we mention this in the supplement? So it's not a core supplement. It hasn't been, these effects have not been replicated time and time and time again. Whereas people with zinc deficiencies, that has been replicated time and time and time again. And zinc you find in seafood and these lean meats as well. And that's another reason to eat your fish and your meat, right? What else do we find? Magnesium we also find in fish, right? We find in leafy greens and nuts and seeds and beans and peas and avocado and dark chocolate, right? You find hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, a bunch of things, right? But also in fish as well, right? And low levels of magnesium have been associated with deficits in testosterone as well, right? Not that again is our top of the list mineral that we would think of. It, of course, is zinc. So when it comes to foods that are high in antioxidants, they seem to also increase testosterone levels. And a few examples would be resveratrol from red grape skin and antioxidants that we find in pomegranate. And these aren't the only foods that would boost testosterone. How many grapes, by the way? Well, about 5 to 10 grams of red grape skin. You can look up and figure out how much that is exactly. But you don't need to drink wine to get resveratrol or, supplement with it. If you were going to supplement with it, it would be about 500 milligrams for this purpose. And make sure it has something that improves its absorption, as we said, in combining piperine with turmeric, for example, or curcumin. because they have relatively low bioavailability on their own. So resveratrol especially. Something they call the big brother to resveratrol is actually called pterostilbene, spelled with a silent P, pterostilbene, phonetically, and it's something that we find in blueberries, right? So that's a really powerful antioxidant. So blueberries as well, they're the number one food for enhancing focus and attention and memory. Actually, blueberries, yeah, they're the core supplement there. But they're also good for improving blood flow. It wouldn't hurt to have them, in terms of testosterone production as well. There's something else that has a lot of potent antioxidants and anthocyanins, polyphenols, the works, right? Blueberries are great, not to mention soluble fiber, low on the glycemic index, and they taste fantastic, right? So you could probably add that to your list. We can't forget about cabbage. Cabbage lowers levels of estrogen, and that's, of course, a good thing when it comes to increasing testosterone levels. So now that we've said a bunch of foods that are good for maintaining adequate levels of testosterone, supporting healthy testosterone levels, let's kind of recap and talk about lifestyle, and let's talk about supplementation, and we just mentioned the foods, so we probably won't go through back all of them, maybe we will. It depends on how much time we got before the food burns. It's on the stove, it's cooking on low, you already know, because I wouldn't roast that shit on high and cause these development of harmful compounds and do all this stuff that's not good for us, right? So we cook on low to medium all the time. But anyway, when it comes to testosterone, optimizing levels naturally, we said think like as if you are trying to be a balanced warrior. Balanced warrior, right? So what does a balanced warrior do? Well, a warrior would go out and fight. Don't go fight people, but they would hunt. They would have sex a lot. They'd find mates. They'd have vigor. They're doing, manly things, right? And again, testosterone is important for women as well, and things like bone density. It's not just, about male sexual characteristics, right? And vigor and mood and all sorts of things. So when we think of this warrior, it's somebody who would be exercising intensely, lifting heavy things, doing powerful compound movements like sprinting that require multiple muscle groups. It would be somebody who's eating a lot of good protein, getting a lot of meat, eating a lot of good foods, but also not skipping out on their leafy greens and their antioxidant-rich berries and pomegranate and things like honey and all the other stuff that we talked about, and healthy fish and all that sorts of stuff, right? And their eggs. But they're eating whole foods from nature, that's for sure. They're high in protein, they're high in fat, and not that carbs are necessarily the devil, but they're not as big here when it comes to boosting testosterone. Maybe not the first thing that we would look to, right? Albeit is important to replenish glycogen, stores ample amounts of energy for exercise. Carbohydrates contain soluble fiber, and that's something that will feed your gut bacteria, and that helps to regulate hormone levels, so we can't bypass that. Probiotics would be very important as well. I would personally recommend, regardless of what the research says in terms of testosterone, due to their potential in regulating endocrinology, right, and release of hormones by glands. And so among many, many other things, they're just good for health. And so this warrior, they do these sorts of things, but they also, so they eat a lot, but they don't eat too much, right? And you don't want fat around the waist, that'll lower testosterone levels, and they don't eat too little, right? And when it comes to fat around the waist and weight gain, remember it's positive feedback in the worst way, because now you're getting stressed out about the fat, you stress eat to release good endorphins, you eat and you release some dopamine, you feel good, you get a little bit fatter, then you get stressed, then you eat more, you don't get as much sleep because you're stressed, you need more sleep if you want to boost your testosterone and be healthy in general. And so sleep is another really big one. A balanced warrior, they go out and they fight during the day, they work hard, they do all this stuff, they live like a warrior, but then they rest, they replenish accordingly, they replenish right, okay? So too much exercise isn't good either, neither is too little, which is typically the problem for most people. But if you're neurotic and you're going out there and you're not replenishing properly, you're not recovering properly, and you're going nuts exercising, that's something that can diminish testosterone levels as well, right? It can increase cortisol levels. When we have higher cortisol levels, we have lower testosterone levels. What was something that lowered cortisol levels? That would be allicin that we find in garlic. If we didn't mention garlic, I think we might have. That's another food that would be good for maintaining healthy levels of testosterone. All right, so now that's kind of lifestyle stuff. So then when it comes to supplementation, all right, we talked about the foods. not all of them, there are more foods. That's a nice long list for you to try and focus on. When it comes to supplementation, it's different for different demographics. And we said the first thing that you should do is you should look to see if you have any deficiencies. You had your levels tested. It's all dependent on your levels, your personal levels, not a standalone absolute number in terms of testosterone, albeit most people below 300 nanograms per deciliter, men at least, are deficient in testosterone, but lab values differ greatly, anywhere from 160 to 726 nanograms per deciliter being normal to 300 to 1130 being normal. So, again, there's a wide range of what's quote-unquote normal and optimal levels, and so, it's different for everybody. If I had high testosterone beforehand and, somebody else had low testosterone beforehand, if we had the same testosterone levels now, we both feel totally different, and one would feel abnormal and one would feel normal, right? And so that's, if you don't have any symptoms, it's not as important that you would address something like this, right? But if you do have that lethargy, that fatigue, that reduced libido, you're losing body hair, you're losing hair on the face, and, you're just, you don't have that same vigor, you're putting on fat easier, you're not building muscle mass as easily, you seem to be depressed and in a bad mood often. These are types of symptoms that could be due to testosterone deficiency, or they could be due to 101 million other things, right? So, again, it's important to have your levels tested so we at least have some baseline when you're feeling good, and then you can go from there and you can get them checked out relatively when you feel crappy. So if you do, you can go for some zinc. Zinc is the first thing. And remember, get it from food, right? Oysters are the highest natural source. You can get it from seafood and shellfish, and also lean meats like lamb and chicken and pork chops and, whatever, things of that nature. Mainly in animal protein sources where we would find zinc. But if you wanted to supplement with it, then you could go anywhere from 10 to 30 milligrams for 2 to 4 weeks is what it was, I believe, and we were talking about it yesterday. And after the 4 weeks, you could probably drop down to a 10 to 20 milligram maintenance dose. And that's if somebody has a zinc deficiency. Only if you have deficiencies, it's going to help you. So if someone has deficiency, that's what you would go for. Now, if you have the lower end of the normal range, then you go from anywhere from 5 to 20 milligrams a day. And if you were towards the higher end of the normal range, then you would go for around 5 milligrams a day. So a safe kind of maintenance dose of 10 milligrams a day, something like that. Now, if you're a male who is 35 years old or younger and you want to supplement with additional things to boost testosterone, you're looking at a few, namely fenugreek and ashwagandha. When it comes to ashwagandha, you can get the patented form KSM66. You can have 675 milligrams divided in 2 doses per day. You could get that form, KSM66, a patented form. You could get any form standardized for 35% with analytes like Shoden, S-H-O-D-E-N, ashwagandha. And you would have a little bit less of that. You could have anywhere from 240 to 600 milligrams per day divided into 2 doses. Fenugreek, you'd have it, so after a month, if the ashwagandha hasn't done it, you could add in some fenugreek, 500 to 600 milligrams a day, divided into a few doses. All right. Now, for men that's for men who are 35 or under, right? Now, if you're a middle-aged man and you're looking to boost testosterone levels, you can do those same things, but first, you can even try DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone, and this steroid hormone involved in the testosterone pathway is something that more directly will boost testosterone. Again, make sure though if you're going to do this, you don't take too much, right? You can have some bad side effects if you have over the 20 to 50 milligram mark. So for these men, middle-aged men, you start around 20, and you can make your way up to 50. All right, so. But try 20 for at least like a month. Try correcting zinc first deficiency. Maybe even, in my opinion, I would probably try ashwagandha and fenugreek, but, other sources recommend go right to the DHEA, so you could do that. But, that's personally, if I was to do this tomorrow and I was middle-aged, I would probably go for that. But, DHEA has pretty strong backing scientifically for raising testosterone levels. Okay, so now these are middle-aged men. So what if you're middle-aged female? Pretty much all the same, just don't go above about 30 milligrams of DHA, even after the second month, and start around 10, right? Start lower, and then you have your ashwagandha and fenugreek in the same forms and dosages. So, woo! That's a lot on testosterone! Bop, 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 testosterone! No, testosterone's involved in making you feel good in general, right? It's not just something that, I do that as a joke because that's what everybody thinks of when they think testosterone. Some guys in the gym throwing weights at the mirror breaking shit. But no, it's definitely something that, we should pay attention to. And it naturally optimizes levels if you're not going to get tested even before you have any problems, right? In a prophylactic sense is the best way to approach these things, preventative measures. So that's what we got for you guys today. And in the past few days, that was answering a big question. I'm happy to have done a day on testosterone. If you want me to dive deep into some other hormones, I love to talk about hormones. So you can, give me a shout on that, and maybe we could dive deep into something else. All right, but if nothing else, we'll dive deep into some research tomorrow or something. I don't even know what it is yet, but I'll figure it out in the morning. Who do we got on here? Let's say hello to the homies, and we're gonna go. Our food is cooked. That's damn sure. Oh, you got him, Josh, what's up? Well, it's nerd out time. That was for you, Josh. My Life on Earth 8. Roy, what's up? Old Knob, Andy. How are you, my friend? Dem Fancy. Fensty. I'm Jesus Garcia. Jed, what's going on? Kenneth. Richard, my absolute pleasure. Brandon Malone. Open Vocals, Luciano Bros. No Filter. Nina P, what's up, girl? How you doing? Donnie for the win. What's up? Almighty Gianni. Yeah, that's right, ma. Randy Stanley, Wire. You're so funny, I love you. Benet, you'll never have a bigger fan than your mother, so don't try to find one, guys. Cavono, I love mine. She's fantastic. Izzy Mikosa. Mikasa. Nice. Antonio Miller. What's up, Audrey? How you doing? Thank you very much. Rob Maloney. What's up, man? Hey. I love you, man. Good to see you on here. Kazim. Richard Wharton. Taylor James. Mark Levin. Holly, what's up, girl? How you doing? J1. Gooey Fruit. DK Minor. And the first one of the day. Gilbert Kyles Quills 300. Thank you for the support. Thanks for hopping on. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you don't have low testosterone, but if you do, maybe not for long. Now that you saw this, bada bing, bada boom. What do you say? Happy today, man. I hope you had an awesome day. Thanks for the support. This one's for you. All right. You guys have a fantastic rest of your night. It's all we got for you, folks. Roland Dante, what's up? We'll see you tomorrow, baby. Not sure where, not sure when, but we'll see you then. Have a great one. Thanks a lot. Happy When Wellness. See you later.